Welcome to episode 24 of the Play Your Yards Right podcast. As always, I'm Sasha, and here back with our lovely co-host, Sara. Back in town, back off the bye week, feeling fresh. Things are good. And listen, life is good for most of us on this podcast. Just some of them happen to not be me. So, Sara, welcome back. We missed you.
I'm glad to be back. I missed it, but I came back like the Cowboys, refreshed, and hopefully I can knock this out of the park just like they did this past weekend.
Yeah, it's mid-season for all of us. Maybe some of us could use a bye week over here. It kind of hurts a little bit, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So as always, got to start with the Premier League update because Tottenham just cannot stop winning. I was luckily able to drag Mike Blasl of, as you know, Blasl's bets over to watch a soccer game for the first time this year. They continue the hot streak, 1-2-1 versus Crystal Palace. And I just constantly just feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. All of New York sports, all the fans I've been, all the teams I've been a fan of, it seems like things just start going poorly as soon as I get a little excited. So I just keep waiting for that to happen, and fingers crossed it won't. The team we were playing against, Crystal Palace, their manager's name is Roy Hodgson, and he is 76 years old and somehow manages to look even older than that. I think the skin is literally melting off of his face. So part of me did feel a little bit bad beating him because I was nervous of what might happen if he got too worked up. But I won't apologize for another win. And next up, we got Chelsea on Monday, the 6th, I believe it is. So that's going to be a huge game because their manager was actually the former Spurs manager from 2014 to 2019, and was the last time that the team kind of had some level of success-ish. So they were, and then basically he came back to the Premier League and talked some shit about Tottenham. So basically our stadium is going to be super loud and very, very anti Mauricio Pochettino. So love it. I was a little nervous. We were that you were off the podcast and weren't able to sing Tottenham's praises. So we were finally going to lose a game, but luckily they were able to avoid that jinx. So I think we're all right for now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like there will be some good drama this week. So maybe it's the week I actually tune in. We'll see.
Listen, Mike,
here for the support, regardless. Here for the support.
New job, Monday, 3:00. Nothing else going on. 2 hours on the dot. It's a wonderful way to spend a Monday afternoon.
I like it. On Monday afternoon. That's actually pretty good. Like Monday Night Football, you're looking forward to, but sometimes it's a little too late for me. So maybe I can get in with the 3:00 time frame.
Your way in, 3 to 5, all done. You're gonna love
it. We'll see.
So then getting into obviously what everybody tunes in for, the NFL, another wonderful week in the NFL, week 8. And I got to tell you this before we get in the NFC East, Mike McDaniels, is he like the least liked guy in the NFL?
It appears so, because I just love this. Relieved Mike McDaniels and their GM of their duties, and I'm like, relieving them of their duties. I feel like he deserves to just that was too kind for him, but also it was just such a weird way of putting it. I don't know, something about that. This just is so fitting with McDaniels. Everything about him is just so bizarre.
Everything is just so weird. It's like the team shouldn't be that bad. Obviously, I mean, I think everybody on that primetime stage saw that Garoppolo clearly may not be the guy and can definitely make some big mistakes. But it seems like everybody that deals with Mike McDaniels doesn't like him, and he somehow keeps getting jobs, I guess, because of all the success, because of Belichick and Brady. So he's just going to ride those coattails. And I honestly, I guess I haven't looked it up. I'm curious to look it up right now. I feel like I'm going to be disgusted by how much money McDaniels has made. I guess the coaches aren't all public, right?
Oh, there's a ridiculous amount of money that I think I saw earlier. I was something definitely obviously in the millions that the Raiders were still paying now McDaniels and John Gruden, both of them. They're still eating contracts.
Yeah, he's making about $3.5 million this year. So, oh no, that's Mike McDaniel. So we need to get to McDaniels. But anyway, I think it's better for football that he's gone, and we'll see. I feel like this is the time where you bet the Raiders, usually without the coach, into as soon as they change coaches, the team gets up, plays super hard for the interim guy. So I feel like this is the spot to bet the Raiders.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. But yeah, I mean, that was just I don't know. I think at this point in time, it looks like they're going with their interim linebacker coach, or their interim coach is going to be linebacker coach Antonio Pierce, which I feel like that's just weird. I don't know, interim coach is your linebacker coach, but that just kind of shows you, I guess, what this Raiders organization is just in shambles at this point. And like Devontae Adams, I mean, how bad? Like I can't watching him. The whole time game, I was having like secondhand anxiety for him, just being like, he has to be so pissed right now. Like,
Yeah.
I just felt like the whole time I was just watching, I was like, oh my god, every play, I was like, my anger was building up. So I can only imagine like how angry he was feeling with like each snap that he was not getting the ball.
Oh yeah, it's like the only thing that makes me feel less bad is that like he chose this, like this was his choice. I guess he didn't choose that Carr left. But the stat department here, actually, aka Mike Blasl as well. Mike, you have Josh McDaniels' contract that they signed to a 6-year deal worth approximately $10 million a year. So that is disgusting, and it's like I frankly am surprised that he lasted as long as he did. I guess that is a disgusting amount of money for Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. Pain, absolutely pain. And I think they're still paying John Gruden. So between the two of them, it's like it's hurting. But another franchise that I guess it's hurt on their own, the Commanders. They showed us during this free agency that they're now committing to the rebuild. So I guess this makes it a little easier because every week we've been saying like, who are the Commanders? What are they doing? Like, what is their identity this year? And they're taking matters into their own hands, it appears. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, they dumped off Chase Young to the 49ers for a 3rd round pick and Montez Sweat to the Bears for a 2nd round pick. I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like this was a little premature. Like maybe they're just committed. I don't know. To me, I don't know if I love this move by the Commanders totally. And I also hate that Chase Young, like I feel like his career is going to be revived at the 49ers for some reason. But it's just because that's just the way it goes. Like, and their defense, it's not fair at this point if he is playing well that they have all these studs. But yeah, I feel like the Commanders kind of like are self-identifying now at this point, but I don't know if it fits.
Yeah, I guess I kind of respect it on their part. I guess it's like new management. It's like clearly new ownership. I feel like come in and like laying claim. Obviously, the owner also owns the 76ers and stuff. So I feel like it was a little taste because again, NFL free agency, it feels like most of the news is what if this team could try to move this. And it doesn't really have that same allure and that same excitement that basketball tends to have. So it almost felt like, oh, they actually are making moves and they've kind of just acknowledged that like, we're not doing anything this year. We need to completely get the stink of basically the entire old Redskins football team franchise. Get the Dan Snyder stink out of the walls. Let's just do something crazy. Let's get rid of this and see what happens. So I respect it for them. I like it. I mean, obviously, as a Giants fan, I like that it seems like they're getting worse at the moment, but I also kind of know that may mean they're going to build into a better team in the future. I just like they know nothing's going to happen. They clearly, have not looked like a great team this season outside of those first couple weeks, or basically unless they're playing the Eagles, they look like a bad team because for some reason they play the Eagles incredibly well. But I completely agree. I think Montez Sweat is a great player. He'll probably be a guy. Oh, remember that guy on the Bears because the Bears also stink. But all I could think about the whole time is that Chase Young is just going to come up huge with like 3 sacks, and like 2 deflected passes against the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to add insult to injury, Randy Gregory probably will as well now that he's a part of that defensive front there. So I just hate it. I hate all of it. I told you, the 49ers are inching their way up close to the Eagles in my eyes here. Although this 3-game losing streak that they're on is making it a little bit easier because they're not even leading their division anymore. But still, I mean, they're building a case for most hated team in my eyes. So we'll see.
Yes, I don't know what's going to happen with the 49ers. They obviously look way different as from the beginning of the season. They were my Super Bowl pick, and the beginning of the season, it looked like they looked like they should. They looked like they had stars at every position. Obviously, injuries plague every team, but Trent Williams, I think, is tremendous. Especially when you have a quarterback that's not Mahomes, Brady kind of level. Brock Purdy needs a lot of time and needs to know that his blind side is protected and needs to feel confident in the pocket. So I definitely think that has something to do with it, along with Deebo Samuel being out. But I am surprised that they've lost the way that they've lost the past bunch of games. So we'll see if they right the ship. But with no further ado, we got to get into our NFC beast. And before we get to hear Sara gloat, we need to talk about maybe the worst game of football I've seen in a very long time. Because listen, I've been watching the Giants lose pretty pathetically a lot this year. But at least sometimes, at least with the Cowboys put up 40 points and we put up 0. At least there was like something going on in the game.
Yeah.
But this game just stunk. It was just punt, 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 no offense. And then Tyrod Taylor, like honestly, like worried about that guy dying. He goes out on like because what was it on the Chargers when he like some
Mhm.
like shady medical person
Yeah.
yeah, punctured his lung with a needle. So now he breaks his breaks a rib or something and has to go to the hospital immediately. That was also, I think, my favorite thing of the week where they like Tyrod Taylor is questionable to return the rest of the game. He was taken directly to the hospital. It's like maybe we can lead with he went
Yeah.
to the hospital. I don't think they necessarily need to say that he's doubtful for the rest of the game. It's like if he's getting taken to the hospital in the middle of the second quarter, I don't think anybody's really counting on him like shaking it off at halftime.
Not to mention with ER wait times, he's not getting back in that amount of time. But that's
All right, I have we have spent some time in the St. Peter's waiting room, and that would be pretty hilarious just to watch Tyrod Taylor like still in full pads, just waiting for his name to get called while the other homeless vagrants come in and out of there. Would be very
Yep.
fun. So basically, my big takeaway is I was lucky to be able to watch this game in the 1 p.m. slate. I was very tired of the Giants looking terrible and having a disgusting game like in prime time. So at least there were 8 other games I could watch, like throw on Red Zone on one of the quad boxes and just kind of be paying attention. So that made me feel a little better. But it was just so brutal to watch. I do feel like there's no way we lose the game if Tyrod stays healthy or Daniel Jones is in. Not like because they're outstanding. I just think that maybe we could move the ball a little bit more, maybe get another field goal, maybe just like a little more confidence. I also feel like we probably could have scored because it just you obviously as soon as as soon as Danny DeVito's little brother comes in, we just give up passing the ball and it just completely changes our offense. So it's a lot easier to defend when you pass the ball. I think it was 7 times. It also seemed like every time we looked we looked up, there was another like Jets offensive lineman that was being carried off the field. So I kept being like, oh, maybe this is the guy. Like maybe we can actually move the ball. Maybe something will happen. Maybe our defense can get a pick 6. Maybe just something will happen. So our defense looked good. Zach Wilson looked terrible basically until he didn't on that last drive and then in overtime. We were kind of just playing not to lose because they clearly didn't trust DeVito to throw the ball at all. I guess Saquon's amazing and kind of deserves to be paid whatever he wants. I think at least on this team because he's the only thing like doing making any sort of offense and making us look like a football team, if I can even call us that at this point. And I mean, I'm not going to complain, but apparently, there is some controversy that the Jets snapped to spike the ball with 1 second left may not have been legal. But whatever, I guess the ref didn't actually go and like place the ball. He just kind of like barely touched it, and the center actually placed the ball. So obviously, it spiked with 1 second left. Like any other, anything else that had to be done probably wouldn't have happened. But whatever. I'm just gonna kind of go on the on the mentality that a loss is going to be better. We'll get us a better draft pick. Obviously hurts in the moment, but now I can kind of just say, hey, maybe we'll get a better draft pick, and we'll we're getting closer. These other teams keep winning. So maybe we have a chance at a top 3, top 2 draft pick. And then I guess the other Giants news is Leonard Williams to the Seahawks for a 2024 second round pick and a 2025 5th round pick. So I guess accumulating assets. So that's exciting.
Well, something that's good for you. I think the Cardinals, as of right now, are in line for the first number 1 draft pick. But Kyler Murray's coming back soon, so they might be like moving out of the way. And the Giants are inching closer, like you said. The other teams they're competing with are kind of finding ways to win. Maybe not the Bears. I don't know about that one. They might be your biggest competition here at this. But
with the Panthers, because they got the Panthers pick as well. But the Panthers won, and they look okay, and they have to play other bad teams. So you never know if this is. But it also seems like a very Giants thing to do for like Daniel Jones to come back and Saquon to start looking good. Our offensive line gets healthy. We end the season 5-11 and get a terrible draft pick, and also don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Jets just continue to confuse me as well. Like, they're bad. They're not good, but like they're staying in this discussion. They're staying relevant by winning games, and they're definitely playing, like the Jets definitely are morphing into the identity of whoever they're playing, I think, like when they play. So they're able to play like these teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, but then like they're playing the bad teams really bad. Like this was just painful football to watch. Like I bet the under on this one. And I was like, okay, like immediate, like I was a little worried because they both came out and like scored early. And then I looked and the score like hadn't moved, but even it was the 4th quarter. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the same score as it was before. So that was my win of the day on this game. But Yeah, I took the over 2.5 field goals for Zerline as well. And that, or no, 6.5 points, like 6.5 points by kicks.
Okay.
So, and it actually ended up hitting with that last kick. So that was like, I was feeling dead and then I felt alive again. But that's all that came out of this game. I don't know. I think I got more joy out of this than the Jets fans, Giants fans, anyone who was involved in this game.
Yes, this didn't feel good for anybody. I'm glad it's over. I don't want to see it again. It's just so upsetting. And trotting, Tommy DeVito out there it just felt like it was adding insult to injury. It's like, I don't want to see this. Nobody wants to see this. What is happening? The Giants had every chance to win that game and still managed to throw it away. Again, injuries, whatever, who cares? Let's go draft pick 2024.
Yeah. Well, you felt it was good that the Giants were in this busy 1 p.m. slate. I felt like the Cowboys got shafted by being mixed into this 1 p.m. craziness slate where they had a phenomenal game, but of course, like it's lost in this mess. Like I hardly can even remember this game right now because there was so much football going on, so much football after it. It was a very busy 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock slate with no no bye week the past week. But yeah, to get to the Dallas Cowboys versus the Rams, phenomenal game, firing on all cylinders. This is what we needed when we played the 49ers because they were great offensively, defensively, special teams. Coaching was still the question mark because, like, of course, Mike McCarthy, when he had that absolute brain fart, when he like tried to throw the challenge flag and then just stood there with it in his hand and then threw it like 1 second too late
Yep.
after the ball had been stopped. And then, like, in the end, he shouldn't have challenged it to begin with. So it actually ended up working out in his favor. And that was just like that, how the rest of the day was going to go, where it's just one of those days where like everything was falling in the Cowboys' favor. Like, because normally that could have been huge, obviously. But it was just one of those days where they kind of could do no wrong and things were just going the right way for them. And I feel like sometimes we don't know why, but that happens. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of sad that a game like that was wasted on the Rams because the Rams are not good. They're just not. Like, I don't know. I was a little bit more worried about their defensive front. Aaron Donald is still very good, but I think we handled him pretty well with like a beat up offensive line. So I was really happy about that. CeeDee Lamb was incredible. I mean, he's really stepping up. They're getting him the ball. I mean, it's becoming obvious. Like everyone kept saying it. When you have someone like CeeDee Lamb on your team, like why is he not the center of the offense? Right? Like other teams, you have not Devontae Adams. I was going to say that. Devontae Adams on the Packers, Justin Jefferson. Like when you have receivers of that caliber, like Stephon Diggs, it's like they are the focal point of the offense. And CP is on that level of play, but they were not treating him like that. Like they were just still trying to commit to the run. Dak was forcing it to Michael Gallup. Like they were very tight end focused. And I think they're now like morphing their identity and realizing that they have this like top wide receiver talent. So you need to give him the ball and like you don't need to equalize and spread things out when he's that talented and can come down with these catches. He's been great with the yards after catch this year. I mean, for not being that big of a guy, he plays pretty physical, and he's able, I think, to shake off some tackles pretty often, and it's fun to watch. I mean, that's like the best part
Yeah.
about football. They've been getting Brandon Cooks involved, which is good because I was beginning to think like, what the heck was the point of having him if he he had like one catch for the first couple games, but they're getting him involved. Michael Gallup played a little bit better. Special teams rocked. It was awesome. Turpin is like electric, but I get this like thing when he like has a huge return. I'm like, can we save this for a more important game? Because this just felt like everything again. Like I don't want to sound negative. It was a fun game to watch, but it felt like they used all of their best moments in this one game. Kind of like we were talking about earlier when we were like, did they use up all their points? Did the Miami Dolphins use all their points for the year? Like, is there an infinite or is there a finite amount of like good plays and like just, blocked field goals, like blocked punts, things like that? Like, I feel like there is a finite amount on that. There's a limit per season. And I'm like, why are we using all these to beat up on the Rams right now? But hey, it was really fun football to watch. I mean, Micah Parsons continuing his MVP or Defensive Player of the Year campaign for sure. He's just like, I mean, him coming down with like 1 or 2 sacks, it's just like, that's the expectation at this point, which is like crazy, to be that good, especially against, a versatile, like different amounts of teams, So, yeah, I think overall, I mean, that's enough gloating. I think I have to say, Deron Bland, 3 pick sixes on the season. I mean, can you imagine what the secondary would be like if Trayvon Diggs was playing? Like,
Insane.
locked. Absolute lockdown. I'm like worried about the teams like the Lions coming up, the Bills even with Stephon Diggs, but I'm feeling better now. Seeing Deron Bland. They're still exposed a little bit. Their safeties are like free safeties. Malik Hooker is like always confused still, I feel like. But they're building and getting a little more confidence, I think, where those teams are not going to be as much of a problem as I felt like they were going to be initially when Trayvon got injured. So it's been reassuring. I think lastly, key to the offense, I said it last week or 2 weeks ago, Dak. We need to keep him mobile. He needs to keep using his feet. It just adds this element to the offense, as it always does for every team, but especially the Cowboys. I feel like he's just been so immobile for the past few years, and this just is opening things up for them, and I hope they continue with it.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I thought it was great. I feel like every time it came on the TV or every time I looked, it was like either Micah Parsons was like army crawling after a sack, or you guys were in the red zone, and it was just like this just keeps happening. It was like it's exactly what you want to see from your time or from your team after a bye. What you got to realize after Trayvon Diggs goes down, like maybe is he just a system interception guy? Maybe your secondary is really that good. All these people keep making picks and pick sixes. So, basically that kind of worked with your running backs. Everybody could tell maybe maybe it was just a system thing, and you can definitely see how that worked. But it just yeah, it was super frustrating. I'm very, very excited to see how this kind of plays out next week with the Eagles and Cowboys. So I think it's going to be a great game. You have to hope that the points aren't finite, and you save some for the week coming up. But I think they did enough. They obviously didn't put up 70, but I do think the Rams are very bad, and I think that the Cowboys are very good exposing not good teams.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair to say. I mean, I think this weekend is going to be huge in my confidence levels because like this is a tough. Everyone knows the Eagles are tough. If they play them tough and are able to show like that. Because if they play like they did against the 49ers, like there's question marks all around because then it's showing that like that wasn't just some sort of weird fluke, you know what I mean? Especially now after the 49ers have lost 3 in a row, like that loss looks even worse, although there were injuries. But yeah, I think this weekend's going to be huge because obviously this is a style teams are going to be facing either 49ers or the Eagles probably in the playoffs, right? So these are kind of like little precursors, and Mike McCarthy needs to get it together. He needs to show that he can like game plan and adjust his game plan to play good teams and not, like you said, just be able to like expose and beat up on these bad teams. Like that's a different style of game, prep and like play. And I feel like he just needs to show that he can do that. And this week is going to be big in seeing that.
Yeah, I think having Dak run is huge, and also it's like it just shows in that in that Titans game, like, hey, like you have a number one receiver, like maybe throw it to him a lot. It's like Will Levis looked like a great quarterback because you throw it to DeAndre Hopkins a lot. If Dak can run a little bit and then throw it to CeeDee Lamb all the time, he's going to look pretty good. So it's like move the pocket a little bit, use your good offensive line, and just throw it to one of the top I don't know 5-10 receivers in the league. Things are going to look all right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's like Dak constantly was like trying to force it to our like third string tight end on a big third down. And it's like, okay, likelihood here, like CeeDee Lamb, top wide receiver, like he's going to come down with the ball. Like you're giving yourself the better odds, right? And I think it's all about playing the odds at that point. And it's like the Cowboys just were too stuck to like adhering to the play calling, like McCarthy just distributing things. And I think, again, they just had to recognize that they had a top wide receiver, like you said, and exactly like we saw with DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm happy that that's the trend, and I hope they stick with it. Because sometimes, for whatever reason, the Cowboys seem to do these things where, like, you're like, hey, they finally got it, but then they get stuck in their ways, and then they like don't change anything from there, or they just somehow get away from it, and they're like, oh, we really need to get back to establishing the run like really well. And the run game hasn't been great this year, but if CD keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, I know you got to build it up a little bit to keep it that way, but I don't think they need to keep shoving the ball to Pollard, every first, second, third down from there. So hopefully they continue with it as is from there. But huge game this week. Very excited for it.
Yes. Well, speaking of the Eagles, and then also we mentioned the Commanders earlier. I mean, that I don't know how it's like the Commanders can be terrible and the Eagles can be the Super Bowl contenders they are, and that's still going to continue to be a good game. And the whole time you were talking about how stupid McCarthy was and his late challenge thing, that's completely overshadowed by how stupid Ron Rivera looked and that not challenging that Devontae Smith
Mhm.
what they called the catch. It was clearly not. And then, I mean, is there anything dumber that you feel so frustrated as a Commanders fan where he comes out and says, I don't know, I was waiting for them to show it on the Jumbotron?
I know. Like, no. Yeah, like,
What do you
I
do?
can't.
You
I
were
did Ron Rivera is so over it though. Like, I feel like that he's just like, I don't know why. It's kind of like sad to see him go out this way. I feel like we're entering that territory now where he was like a very well respected, obviously successful NFL coach. And now we're like entering the territory where he's kind of becoming like a little bit of a laughing stock when you say things like that, and miss huge calls like that.
Yeah, obviously, I don't think it's that same kind of level, but there's a lot of talk of like Russell Wilson playing his way out of like the Hall of Fame. He was incredible, incredible, incredible. Continued on that trajectory. Like that's a surefire Hall of Famer. And now watching what he's done the past bunch of years, it's like, oh man, that guy. So it's like obviously, I don't necessarily know if Ron Rivera was a Hall of Fame head coach by any means. I mean, he did make it to a Super Bowl, but just the watching this kind of, it's not just that, obviously you can't blame the team that he necessarily has. I mean, I guess you can, but like it's not always all about the talent. Like there are usually like kind of markings of what good coaches do. And it just seems like he's standing out there just so incredibly confused. So it just seems like maybe they're setting everything up for Bieniemy to take over. But yeah, the Eagles just kind of still put up a shitload of points. All the receivers showed up. The tush push didn't work, but then they were able to do the fake tush push and then it worked, score that way. So, as an Eagles fan, I think you're still feeling pretty good. And I think everybody's sights will kind of pass this week onto week 9 for that, the heavyweight matchup.
Yeah, I absolutely just love that, like, the Commanders are the Eagles' kryptonite in a way, though, because it's just like every time you play them, it's like the throw out the records book sort of thing. And like, I love looking up and just like seeing the Eagles be down like 14-0 to start the game against the Commanders. Even if they like, I don't know, if to me, I obviously would love the Commanders to be pulling off these wins, but even the fact that they're not like absolutely trouncing what is a very bad team, like I still get a little bit of like feeling good about that.
Yeah, it's like the record. If you didn't watch the games and you just saw the record books, and it's like, oh, divisional opponent, and the Eagles won both of them against a team that's not very good. It's like, yeah, of course they should. But if you're watching those games, you can't feel great about the way that you have a lot of questions leaving that. You don't feel as good as you should being 2-0 against a divisional opponent if you're the Eagles, and you don't necessarily feel as bad if you're 0-2 than the Commanders.
Yeah, well, and also like Jalen Hurts was looking very injured at points during this game. Like he was kind of like hunched and like hobbling, and like you could just tell. We don't root for injuries here, but you can just tell like that the Commanders beat them up a little bit emotionally, physically, like which you won. I mean, the Cowboys play them the following week. I'd be lying if I wouldn't say that I'm not rooting for the Eagles to be a little disheveled going into that game. Not injured, just tired and beat
Just
up.
tired, yeah. A little sore, maybe. Yeah, I was pretty shocked when there was some of those shots where they literally had it looked like Jalen Hurts was like dragging parts of his body up to the line of scrimmage. It's kind of like, hey, like you got a long season here and your team's really good. Like maybe just bring Marcus Mariota in for a drive and like just get him checked out. Like I don't really know why whatever. You want your guy to be a competitor and want him to be tough, and like you get that he wants to be in, but kind of feels like sometimes, in that quarterback show, it's like, Mahomes is like, I'm going out there, and Reed's like, hey, no, like get your shit checked out and we'll figure it out. So it's like kind of feels like a point where Sirianni was like, let's think about the big picture here. And like, even if we don't beat the Commanders here, or if like it's maybe not as pretty because Marcus Mariota's in, like we need to think about the playoffs, not about, this 7th drive, in week 8.
Yeah, agreed.
So, well, wonderful. Well, that is our NFC East recap. It's getting more sad on my end, happier on your end, and I'm very excited for next week. So, speaking of also some very sad things last week, listen, we love Mike. We have a great time, but we got to we're getting right on these best bets. So, give us a minute here, and we will get Mike back on to show us Blazel's bets for week 9. Welcome back. We are here with our fearless gambling leader, Mike Blasl, and we are here for the segment of Blazel's bets. We are unfortunately having to revoke Blazel's best bets. We'll throw best in the title until we get back over 500. Went into the week 6-8-1. We're throwing more picks in there now because we have to. Just those 3 of the week weren't
That's
great.
what you do when you're down.
You just keep adding more.
You bet more.
And we went down a slippery slope. We are now 9-15-2. And more importantly, the 3 that you picked for the best bets, you owe us a shot of Malort, baby.
I know. I can't wait. I really just wanted it. I knew to go the other way.
Yeah.
But I really want to try Malort with you.
That's nice. So we get to do it together. Well, you know how you're going to get me to do it is you're going to get you're going to pick the 3 this week, and we're doing it together.
Right.
So if not, I think you might go and try to find COVID again, so you don't have to taste or smell anything.
Yeah. Well, let's hope maybe I can have a revival for 1 hour.
So we did start off strong. We had the Josh Allen over 22.5 rushing on Thursday.
I told you all to put your whole houses on that.
And if you were able to listen Thursday before the game, boy, was that a good hit. So that one felt real good, and then everything else just felt way too close.
I also want to say before I did go back and listen to see if I said what I was thinking out loud, and when I did bet, I also said I like Josh Allen to be the first touchdown scorer.
You did, and you did take that.
I did bet that, and that did come in at like plus 800. So throw another W up there.
We'll throw the little W asterisk somewhere else. But listen, it's always the great thing about betting and the great thing about football is there's always a new week, and we're ready to turn it all around with this wonderful, wonderful slate of games.
We're midway through the season.
Oh, sad. Don't say that.
It's time to listen. I went into the locker room. I had a real angry talking to with myself. We're making some halftime adjustments.
All right, good.
And I think you're going to the players only meeting.
We have.
My son needed to use the potty, but I told him, nope, we're having a players only meeting in here. So the biggest, you're going to see some changes in these bets this week.
Oh,
yeah.
We're shifting things
I'm
up.
shifting listen, the stinky dog lives on. The stinky dog will live forever.
I love it.
But I am introducing a new fun segment for you guys to lose money with me on as well. All right. So, getting on with Blazel's bad bets.
No, they're just bets now.
Well, I'll get to the best ones, my locks later on. New England at home, -3.5 versus the Commanders. I think it's going to be really hard to ramp up Washington when they just sold off 2 of their better young players. New England didn't do anything. They did lose Kendrick Bourne for the year last year, which is going to hurt their offense. But I just think that's like a ghost ship floating through the water right now. The Commanders, like Ron Rivera's getting fired. They're going to dump the GM. Like it's a new owner. They ran through this year to keep stability, and everything's getting flipped on its head. There's no way everybody in that locker room doesn't know it. I do think Sam Howell's good, but I'm going to trust Belichick at home. 3.5 isn't enough.
It also
New England takes care of business.
It also feels I was about to pick up Sam Howell. I think I was a little bit like swept up in how good the Commanders looked last week against the Eagles, and I'm like, oh, I need a fancy quarterback this week, maybe Sam Howell. And then I remembered Sam Howell was still basically a rookie quarterback, and it's still Bill Belichick on defense.
Yeah,
and it just strikes me like their offense is not good enough to be able to, like Belichick may not have the tools at his disposal with the defense, but I think he still has enough to confuse the shit out of a young offense.
He also has a tremendous record against rookie quarterbacks. That's kind of one of his calling cards. I don't think New England's throwing in the towel. I think they're going to continue to fight, or they would have traded Mac Jones to the Vikings. And I said, I thought that was going to be the move if you knew if New England was going to tank, and they're not going to. He's going for the wins record. I feel like that team is going to stay locked in. Ramondre Stevenson's played better. They're going to run the ball. They just lost 2 of their key guys on the defensive line. It's going to be a huge adjustment to defensive rotations for Washington. And I think Ron Rivera is quiet quitting his job right now. So I just think it's going to be one of these games where they're going to get overwhelmed by the New England crowd, and it's going to be probably a low scoring game, but I think Washington's going to have a hard time getting it going. So
do you also think there's anything maybe to that point about him quiet quitting, kind of how the Bills may feel about DeMar Hamlin, with all of, Ron Rivera's health stuff? They're like, we can't fire this guy,
right.
Can we?
Well, we're going to have to cut this from the, no, I think, I do think a huge part of DeMar Hamlin still being on our roster is definitely you can't dump that guy right now.
Yeah.
But I think this is, he's being given a nice paycheck. He'll probably be on the team next year. I think it's coming up into the Cincinnati game too. It's like he's probably walking right around the GM's office, like, got to keep me around.
This is scary.
Remember what happened?
This is what, yeah, Sarah, like you were mentioning earlier, it just feels like this is an end of the season. Ron Rivera, we're parting ways mutually.
Yeah. He's been relieved of his duties.
Yes, relieved.
Yeah, and a big thing with Josh Harris coming in and buying the team, you can't, and let's not, and Magic Johnson, let's not forget Magic's got a piece. You can't just turn around and your first act is to just shake up your entire the structure of there, because they have to learn they have to take a year to observe how the business is running, probably knowing that those guys are gone anyways.
Right.
But you got to see what's wrong to kind of make an idea about what's right. I mean, he owns the 76ers and they dumped Doc Rivers. It's the same. You're going to see the same story here.
Makes sense.
I think a lot of those guys know the writing's on the wall. So
I like it.
I don't see him getting up.
New England -3.5. I'm convinced.
All right, now here comes, you know what I did? I again, in that players only meeting, somebody shouted up from the back.
Yeah.
They said, you gave up on betting spreads too early. And I said, you're right. Me, also voice in my head. So we're picking 3 spreads that I really like. I talked a little bit about the offenses lagging to start the year. I think what we're going to see is a continued improvement in offensive play. So, good. Well, and I also do have an under in here, but I've got 3 overs that I really like. Colts Panthers over 44.5. Quietly, I know I'm not going to give you guys the Shane Steichen rundown again. They are a very effective offensive team. You know,
you said 44.5.
44.5.
Yep.
They get it done. They're putting up points. And I also think on the flip side for the Panthers, they have a new offensive coordinator that while they didn't put up a lot of points against Houston, they were able to get their first win of the year. And I think the Colts give up points, the Colts score points. So 44.5, I could see this being another. I'd see the Colts getting 28 points, winning 28-21, which is 49. That's going to get it.
Is Minshew alive?
He's playing.
He's good.
Yeah. I think he's banged up, but they're going to scheme up plays that get him open. Pittman's awesome. That rookie Josh Downs is turning into like a real player.
Yeah.
And every week, Jonathan Taylor's getting more rounding into form. And Zach Moss is like the number 6 running back in fantasy, which every week I just hope he drops off because we gave him up for nothing. Naheem Hines, who blew up his knee on a jet ski.
Yep.
But they have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Bryce Young, while I don't love him as an overall pick, I think this will be a week they'll be able to get some more stuff going. So easy over.
Is Gardner Minshew like trailer park Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah. He's like yes, but like mini Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. Like a tiny house Ben Roethlisberger in a trailer.
Yeah, like just a little trailer. Like he wasn't quite given enough nutrients growing up.
Right.
Like they both came from the same pond, but one of them was in like a nice home where he's like still got that grittiness, but he was fed well. The other one was just given a pack of cigarettes and a mom that didn't care.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He still wears his first pair of jeans that he cut into shorts during practice. So there's your first one. You got Sasha. You'll love this. I got Giants Raiders over 37.5.
Ooh,
the return of Daniel Dimes.
Oh, Sir Daniel Dimes to you.
I don't know. Just give me the points on this. I don't even really have a big breakdown. I think the Raiders are they're in trouble, but that quarterback Aiden O'Connell looked like he could move the ball a little bit. They benched Jimmy G. They couldn't look worse than they did last week, and the Giants are going to put up more points with Daniel Jones. That's just I believe that.
Yeah,
so.
This is it's a pretty low number, so I guess I like it. I think I like the reasoning. Obviously, the Giants have basically been under machines this year, but I think coming back, rounding into form a little bit, have a quarterback with some semblance of how to play football, a healthy Saquon Barkley, offensive line's getting a little healthier, and then I think, like I mentioned earlier, Raiders getting a little bump off of their, firing of a coach and getting all jazzed up. We're going to fight for our, we're going to fight for our jobs kind of deal. I think that number is pretty low, and I think that makes sense.
And they're in, and I'm a big go overs when it's indoors, so it's going to be it's in the dome. It's faster. That's it. I watched Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely destroy the Raiders, and Saquon Barkley's better than Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think there's going to be a lot of points. I'm sure Aiden O'Connell, a rookie quarterback, is probably going to have a mistake or two in there.
Yeah.
Also for the Giants, the trade deadline's over, so everybody knows they're in. I still think they're a team that's locked in. I don't think they can make the playoffs just looking at their schedule and their record.
Yeah.
But I still think they're going to fight hard for Dayball, and I like a lot of points.
I like it.
I think this could also be a blowout, like 35-7 Giants. So, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh,
yeah, get ready for that team. I think that team and Antonio Pierce, former Giant.
yeah,
So a revenge game.
it's a big deal
by the Giants against him because they always secretly hated him. I don't know how that's going to work out, but 37.5 isn't enough points. And my last one that isn't a bet, a best bet or an average bet is Bills Bengals under 49.5, going against the voice in my head telling me to bet the over. I don't think the Bills are going to try to win this going into a shootout. I don't totally believe the Bengals are as back as everybody thinks they are. I think they're going to try to run the ball because that's where we've been susceptible, but I don't think Joe Mixon is the same Joe Mixon. So we also traded for Rasul Douglas. I don't think he's going to start, but I think he's going to play. And that's another guy who's like a veteran who knows what he's doing, who's a starter on our team in a week or two when he's totally caught up. I think there's good. I also think you're about to see a signing for the Buffalo Bills. Probably not for this game, but I think they're very excited because I think somebody else is coming into the building very soon.
Wait, what kind of teasing is this? Are you working there? What's going on?
Very soon.
Are you about to leak this?
Tremendously soon, I think we see Ndamukong Suh playing for your Buffalo Bills.
Oh, Sue.
Heard it here. News broken. Breaking news.
Oh, from off the couch.
Yeah. From off the couch. He's still big. Don't worry, because he's on TV a lot. He's still got that size. I think in the next couple of days, I think that gets announced. So I think there's a lot of buzz in Buffalo. Matt Milano's injury, everybody, the buzz around town is it's maybe not as bad, and he might be really coming back. Daquan Jones says he's coming back. Trey White's taking mushrooms with Aaron Rodgers, trying to get his Achilles fixed. That one's not real. But the other two are Matt Milano, Daquan Jones coming back. I think we're turning a corner. And the way we ran our offense last week was incredible. But I just see this being more of a defensive battle. And it's still 49.5 points. So you could have a really entertaining game, 28-21 Bills. And we hit the under, and everybody's happy.
And we're all happy.
And also, one thing to think about, everybody, that I am going to do a better job at until we're able to hire a meteorologist to work for the podcast is look at the weather, because every time I make these picks and 2 days later I pull up the forecast or I turn on the TV and it's pouring rain in every stadium, maybe I wouldn't have picked so many overs. It is going to rain in Cincinnati as of today. So
all right,
there you go. That's under juice. That's God's under juice right there.
That's a hilarious. Whole rain is just under juice.
Yeah, you see that? Oh, it's pouring under juice all over Cincinnati. So to get into my new fun segment, I hope everybody's excited.
Very.
This is the Thursday night Propapalooza. Also, just quickly, because I can tell you the exact weather because it's tomorrow. The forecast is going to be 48 degrees with 39% humidity, 0% chance of underjuice.
No underjuice happening in Pittsburgh today.
So what I've got for you, I've got three quick ones. 2 TD scorer props. 1, if you want to make money. 2, if you like to gamble. Jaylen Warren plus 260 to score. I think they're going to keep working him in. The Titans are a very tough, like up the middle defense. They didn't trade anybody else. So I think it's Kenny Pickett, a little dump pass, or Warren's the more explosive back. And if Pittsburgh wants to be a playoff team, he has to be the lead back. And I see him in a Jahmyr Gibbs type role there. And if you like to, for funsies, and you like to be a gambler, bet Pittsburgh's defense to score a touchdown plus 800.
Ooh, like it.
Will Levis looked amazing. It's still his second game on a team that's like they're struggling to find an identity. And I could just, if there's any team that's going to bait him or get him to make a mistake, it's a coach like Tomlin, it's a coach like Belichick, it's these experienced guys. And Pittsburgh's defense is still awesome. So
feels like a Watt strip sack. Somebody picks it up and runs it in.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pittsburgh's at home, so the terrible towels, Renegade, all that stuff. It's a tough environment for this kid to play in, and it's a night game. It's just Josh Allen in the beginning of his career at night, like I could feel the stress on him, and I think you're going to see the same thing out of Will Levis. Maybe not. Maybe he's just going to throw 4 touchdowns every game, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
And his prop for passing is 204.5 yards over under. I would take the under. I think they're going to run the ball. Derrick Henry's there to stay. That's it. And Tajay Spears is really good as a backup. And while he was able to throw all over, who did they even play that they beat? I forget.
Not the Saints.
It wasn't the Saints. Was it the Cardinals?
No, I don't think it was a team that was that.
Well,
bad. Yeah, I'll pull it up.
It's a game I seem to get wrong every week. My pick 'em.
I know. Once it's gone, I try to erase it from my memory. But the I think that's one of those things where it's like they caught you sleeping on Will Levis, like it was going to be him, Malik Willis. You don't know how to prep for it. It was the Falcons. Thank you. I think that's one of those. All right, it's a week of we have the information. Mike Tomlin's got the tape. So while I do think Will Levis could be a good quarterback, I think this is going to be a get back to reality game. I think he's 150, 140 yards passing, and if they're able to win, it's going to be on the ground and through their defense.
Right, and he's still a rookie, but he's still clearly better than Malik Willis, who looks terrible.
Oh yeah, he's not. I don't know what that guy is.
Also bad. I don't know. I feel like Jalen Warren needs to have the ball way more because Najee Harris looks like he's just living his life in a bowl of pudding.
Trent Richardson, if they stretching him out by 4 inches. All right, I know quickly because I'm rambling. The best bets, easy. Win some money with me today. Chicago Saints over 41.5 points in a dome.
Over 41.5?
Over 41.5 points. I just think the Saints are getting it together. Chicago's, just because they got these guys doesn't mean their defense is a joke.
Yeah.
And Chicago's going to put up some points. I see it. 41 isn't enough. Not 41.5, it's 41. Excuse me. I just got half a point.
Oh, 41. Good.
41.
We'll take it.
Second one, this is my best bet that I'm going to come on here and tell you how I was screwed over by weather or something next time.
Good.
Cleveland over at home against Arizona -7.5.
Cleveland -7.
I mean, I love that. Arizona. I love that bet so much. I think Deshaun Watson's going to play. I don't even think it matters. Arizona bringing out a Hull as their quarterback.
Who? Oh, right.
Something Hull.
Yes. Some stupid name. Because what's his name is not Kyler Murray is not playing. Right?
Nope, not playing yet.
Yeah, I was shocked to see Josh Dobbs go. Clayton Tune.
Clayton Tull. You don't need to get to know this guy's name, I don't think. I think he's gonna get tuned up. Hey now. Cleveland's defense still awesome. Arizona's still not awesome. And they're not trying to win games, and so this is a loss. This is a big loss for them, I think.
Yeah, Cleveland's obviously
shutout watch.
Clayton Tune coming in against Myles Garrett does not seem like the best way to have a guy's first game.
He's going to have a new headstone for his house. You know that he does that on Halloween.
Oh right, when he has the sacks or whatever.
He puts tombstones of all the quarterbacks he gets. My last one, I'm a little more unsure about it. I was going between this and New England as the best bet, but I'm going to do it because I love to fade them. Give me Seattle at Baltimore +5.5. Give me the points.
So Baltimore +5.5.
Seattle
+5.5 against Baltimore.
See, your brain thought Baltimore was +5.5. That's what I'm saying. You got this wrong, Vegas.
Yeah. People are all in on the Ravens, and I'm kind of surprised.
Every year.
Baltimore and Seattle. It seems like those two teams are the teams that this year Vegas is very, very high on, and I don't necessarily trust their quarterbacks. These teams feel like they're the same to me. Well coached, don't trust the quarterback. People are viewing them as like make a run in a playoff type teams that I don't quite understand. So I am I'm with you on that one. It feels like Baltimore.
Seattle's got weapons everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. That kid Jackson Smith and Jigma is looking like a real player. Like they got Kenneth Walker and that Charbonnet kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got players. They just traded for Leonard Williams. They're buying. They believe. They're trying to do. They're going to win that NFC West.
Oh
yeah,
that's coming out. Those odds are looking a lot better too, and especially with this skid from San Francisco, obviously that's a hot one.
Yeah, Baltimore can't keep, and it's 5.5 points. I don't think Baltimore's going to keep blowing everybody out, but we could talk about that next week over a shot of Malort.
Once you've cleaned that up. So we got some of the early bets. We got New England -3.5 over the Commanders. Colts Panthers over 44.5. Giants Raiders over 37.5. Yuck. Bills Bengals under 49.5. Thursday Propapalooza. If we're looking for touchdown scores, we got Jaylen Warren +260 and Pittsburgh's D at +800. And then lock in, buckle your seatbelts. Best bets of the week. Bears Saints over 41. Cleveland -7.5 over Arizona. And Seattle +5.5 at Baltimore.
Stinky dog.
I love this. And
I got a stinky dog.
Oh, you thought
you think I'm done
about the stinky dog?
Sarah, I've got one. Don't worry, you're involved in the stinky dog.
Oh, Sarah, are you ready for that?
I involved both of our show hosts in the stinky dog this week because we missed her so much last week. Dallas over Philly, straight up money line.
I feel like this is kind of a ricochet shot. Like we're being involved in the stinky dog parlay here.
No, well, listen, it's a title. It's what? Listen, that's how we're selling. We're selling merch on the stinky dog. Giants over Raiders.
Ooh, money line Giants.
Money line. And this is where it gets stinky because those two, I don't think they're stinky dogs. I think actually there's going to be more money on Dallas than Philly by the end of the week when we look at the bets.
Ooh,
here's the stinky. It's going to stink.
How stinky?
Vikings over Falcons. Let's go. PU. That's the team that's got the guy named Tull. I don't even know the name of the quarterback. Just bet the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to try to keep going for the NFC North. I think they still have a shot at the 7th seed, even without Kirk Cousins. Their receivers are amazing.
Like this is a win it for Kirk week. I was thinking the same thing in my pick. Like they all like him, respect him. I can see them going out there and winning. And like the Falcons, they're not good. Like it's not like it's coming out and playing some top tier team.
Yep,
I like that a lot. That's a very good winner for Kirk. You said Jaron Hall. Oh, right. They
Jared Hall, yeah.
And they brought in Josh Dobbs.
So, and the Falcons are starting Heineke.
That's official. They're starting him.
Official.
That scares me a little bit more because I think Desmond Ridder stinks and not in a stinky dog kind of way, but still, yeah.
I think Heineke's a guy that you love to love, but it's like there's a reason why it just hasn't worked. And that for guys like that, they keep going. Like it's the Gardner Minshew's next team. It's like this. Where Matt Barkley was this kind of guy, like could he? I don't. There's a reason why he's not on Washington. It's not like they're trotting out one of these top quarterback picks. It's Sam Howell. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. They wanted to start Fitzpatrick over him. These guys see a lot more. So give me a quarterback that's bouncing around. This other guy, Hull,
Jaron Hall, yeah.
I've never seen him, so who the hell knows? Maybe he has a Will Levis in him. Those receivers are going to be open.
Right. I guess that is kind of true. I do think there is something. I think these teams are very heavily reliant on game tape, and playing a guy without game tape is tough in this league. There's obviously chaos. Not really with this team, but there is game tape on how Heineke, views defenses and makes plays. And Jaron Hall is somewhat of an unknown, so maybe we get lucky. I like it. I put that together quick. We're getting a nice hot plus 1383. So
that's spicy. $10 wins you $138. You're welcome. Take that to the bank, I hope.
Oh, let's do it. I'm excited, and I got to tell you, I've never wanted to take a shot of Malort more in my life than this week. I got to do it with you. So
because somebody's got a I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the hosts has got a birthday coming up this week.
Let's win it for her.
Sasha sounds young, but tomorrow is actually his 63rd birthday.
Yep. 2 years away. Thank you. Thank you. We're looking at that Social Security check, and I'm ready to put it on the stinky dog.
AARP.
Yeah. So we're very excited that stinky dog, Dallas over Philly, Giants over Raiders, and Vikings over Falcons. So listen, guys, Sarah, I got to tell you, Mike, it's good to be back. This is good little old school right here. This feels right. It's nice to have this. Nice to have this camaraderie. Nice to have this going. So I missed you, and I am ready for a week 9. I got all-time high vibes going right now, and I think things are going to be good.
I agree. I think this is the week the bets turn around. I'm feeling it. I feel like we're really like honestly all of this week I'm going with all of them. That's how committed I am. I think they all look good. Even the stinky dog parlay here, which I'm still debating on how I feel about being involved in that. But I'm feeling like this is the week we right the ship here, and maybe we can reintroduce the bets, the best part of bets next week.
Or we do the next episode from a homeless shelter.
Yeah. So we are going to start putting these out, and we do love, actually, we watched the game together, Mike and I, and we did put together a couple last minute parlays, touchdown scorers. Some of the bets were, despite what we said on the show, the bets did go well on Sunday, and we had quite a good time. So we are going to be putting together a Twitter account for the show as well, start sharing some clips and sharing some more day of when they start releasing the prop bets, so people can see little bit more day of what's going on, and hopefully we can keep the heat there. But yes, continue to follow us. We appreciate all the listeners. We very much appreciate you guys. We'll start bringing back more of the 3-point stances a little bit later, but figured we had to get our feet under us, do a little old school episode today. So follow us on Instagram, and once we get that Twitter going, we will share that on our Instagram as well, so you'll be able to find that there. But thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.